Well, Mr. Bamsey, thanks for inviting me around to your house this evening for, what is it, a chicken wing night, yeah?
It is a wings night. Hot wings, buffalo sauce, ranch dressing, the lot.
I'm buzzing, to be fair.
Should be good.
I told you about that wing fest I went to, didn't I, about a month and a half ago?
Yeah. What do you think inspired us to do it ourselves at home?
Oh, is that why you went for it, yeah?
Yeah.
Love that. Right, okay. Well, we're here in your place. Talk to me a little bit about your fishing back in Oxford, because a lot of the people that go over the chase probably don't really know where you started fishing and also how you managed to find the chase, because it is quite a gem, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the chase is a diamond in the rough, isn't it? I think a lot of people think that. One thing I do know is that never in my life would I have thought I'd be fishing a park lake in the centre of Dagenham, sorry. It's yeah, I mean, it's rough around the edges, that's for sure, but the fish in there make it well worth fishing. I grew up in Oxford. Luckily, my parents' place was 10-15 minutes drive from Linear, and although I didn't start fishing Linear when I started fishing, I was fishing on the river with my dad and stuff, but as we grew up, there's plenty of carp waters around there, a lot like Essex. Like Oxfordshire's brilliant place to grow up fishing. And yeah, so I eventually got fishing Linear and some other member waters, and it's just kind of where I cut my teeth on it, really. Yeah, and I was young and wild and free, should we say, not caring the world, and didn't, you know, back then you didn't even have a barrow. I showed you a picture recently of me around St John's many moons ago with a actual sort of building site barrow, and that was all I had. My man, and he'd call me up and shout at me saying, "Where's my barrow?" And it was, yeah, it was good fishing back in Oxford. And then the chase, how the chase came about, actually, there was a stepping stone between that, because I moved to London for work, and now I work in the city still, doing like nothing fishing related, just IT. And because I was quite central, there wasn't a lot of lakes close by, so all my fishing stuff I had left back in Oxford at my parents' house in the garage. Lived in a flat, no storage, no space. And then one day I was just exploring the local area, down the Poplar area, and
So am I right in saying that you moved to like sort of Canary Wharf?
yeah, just outside Canary Wharf. I like to say it was Canary Wharf, but it was just outside, not quite.
I'm sure that a lot of people can relate to the fishing around there as well, because there's a lot of sort of canal river-based fishing around there, isn't there, that is also very mysterious, a bit like the chase.
It's very, very much like that. Completely different kind of fishing. I'd say just as difficult, if not harder, but if you're willing to put the effort in, the rewards are there. And I was lucky enough to meet a couple of guys, and how it all happened was quite, it was, I don't know, kind of meant to be. It was very strange how it all happened, but I met this group of guys who were religiously fishing these canals, basins, and it was all new to me. Like canal fishing for carp, and especially basin fishing in sort of half salt water, half fresh water, was it was all new to me. And these guys, they were there every day, and it was hard to keep with a full-time job and stuff. It was hard to get home, get on your push bike, ride 6 miles up and down the canal, the river, the tidal, trying to find fish. And I mean, these guys, they're amazing. Some of the fish they've had out of there are unbelievable, but all of that's probably for another video.
I can imagine that it takes quite a lot of dedication to do that as well, as you said, especially with work. I mean, I know, as an example, you've got Jacob London that does that really well, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of the gems in there are worth the time from what I can see.
Without a doubt.
I've touched on canal work myself, but I'd like to do that at some point.
I mean, he's a prime example, man. Like, he's there, he's putting the graft in, it's pre-baiting, it's knowing your spots, it's fighting the public, it's getting on your push bike or your boat, or it's a different world of fishing. And for me, it was daunting, but I was loving it at the time. I didn't have a massive amount of success, but I was only doing it for 10 months or so. And it started at the end of the summer. So I was a little bit off time in there, really. And then my love for lake fishing was itching. Like, I needed to go fishing at a lake. So a mate of mine moved to London who had done a bit of fishing before, and we had fished together as kids, and he was a carp angler as well. So we decided together to move our fishing gear to a storage unit that was close to our flats where we were living. And this just made it easier to obviously go fishing in the local area. And then I sort of started discovering Essex, Chelmsford, a lot of water. And we couldn't wait to sort of start dipping our toes and testing the waters. So we started on a few smaller lakes, and Bayswater day ticket, and we had a fair few out of there. Then had the big one at 39, I think it still goes 39 as far as I'm aware. The cover fish from there, that was nice, lovely little lake, but again, it just leaves you wanting more and more, and all the stuff I was hearing about the lakes in Essex and Chelmsford, couldn't wait to sort of find out more about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess you didn't really realise how lucky people around this area are, like in terms of water coverage, because there's actually quite a bit of water for everybody to explore, isn't there, in Essex?
I mean, I knew of it from being in Oxford, like I knew there was a lot of lakes up here, obviously, like once I got older and there was social media and stuff, you'd see a lot more of what was happening more around the country. Back in the day, I had a pager for God's sake. It was, I had a pager, so no one's going to tell me that a 40's come out up in Essex, and even back then a 40 was rare. So then I took one of the guys I met from fishing the canals and the basins to Bayswater day ticket, because I'm allowed a guest. Just for, you know, it was difficult fishing on the canals. We thought, let's just go to a lake and have a fish. So I took him there.
Sorry to go in, but how does it work over Bayswater then? Do you just pay a day ticket fee, or are you allowed to get like a members sort of ticket which allows you to fish it as much as you want with a guest as well? Or?
It's a bit of both. So in order to, you have to be a member to be able to do day ticket.
Right.
Excuse me. And you pay 25 quid for the year, and that's predominantly for a key to the gate. And then you're allowed one guest with you, but both of you pay the same price day ticket.
Right.
But it's a good price, £25, 24 hours, and then £15 there on after that. You'll thank me for that later, Steve. So I took a mate of mine there from the canal, and we were only able to do one night there because it was quite busy. And we were on our way back and thinking of where else we could go. And he mentioned a place called The Chase that I'd heard it in conversation before between the guys, but didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Thought it was another stretch of river or whatever. And then he said, no, it's in Dagenham. It's on the way home, and it's it's just day ticket. And he said, I know the bailiff, so I'll text him and see how busy it is. And it turns out it was Ramo, so we couldn't go there anyway. But I because I'm not from around it, I don't know how far Dagenham is from Canary Wharf, and I'd never really been out that way. So yeah, I found out it was like 25 minutes from my house, and I was like, there's a lake 25 minutes from my house with 40s in it? How did I not find this before? Because looking at all the lakes online in Essex, it doesn't really come up. So yeah, obviously I just wanted to get down there. So we arranged a social, and it was in the depths of winter, and it was on the back lake, which, if you know The Chase, is the easier of the lakes. Bigger lake, but a lot higher stock, and just a smaller stamp of fish, but just an easier bite in the winter. And we had a few fish and stuff, but I just couldn't stop looking at the front lake. It caught my eye straight away. It just looked nice. Like, it looked like somewhere that had some good uns in it.
Yeah. It's a pretty special place, to be fair.
Yeah.
We always say, don't we, that if we was able to pick that lake up and move it into somewhere like the Cotswolds or even Oxford, it'd be a very, very special syndicate.
It certainly would.
Somewhere that I think a lot of well-known anglers would want to fish, do you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. I mean,
the only thing, as we discussed as well, is that it lacks a little bit of security, doesn't it? Because it's just a park lake, so people can just walk around. And you see a number of different things over there, don't you?
It's one of those, isn't it? You these days, when it comes to angling, especially on pressured day ticket lakes, your most difficult hurdle is other anglers. And with the chase, front lake, it's not just the other anglers, it's the general public you've got to compete with as well, because they're always there. It's open to the public 24/7. It can cause security issues. There have been some strange occurrences there at times, and it's not certainly not for the faint-hearted. But you know, the fish are there, so what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's it.
You've got to, if you want them, there's no other way to catch them but to be there and give it a go.
So, tell the guys how we met then, because I feel like we've met each other and known each other for years, but actually it hasn't been that long, has it?
No, it's been, what was it, last April?
That's about right.
Yeah. So it's funny because I met all of the other guys that we fish with at the chase, all of the other mates, and I had known them for quite a while before I'd met you. I'm assuming you were busy with work and stuff and weren't able to get to the bank so much, but it just so happens at that period the guys were down the bank, and I met most people down at the bank, and there was a good bunch of guys, and I thought, oh, these are the kind of guys I'd want to know a bit more and fish with. And yeah, and I'd seen all your videos and stuff prior, because you know, everyone who's trying to fish a hard lake probably Googles it and tries to find other people who have fished it, and stumbling across Chasing Monsters and Back on the Bank was it was interesting. And then when I realised that the guys I'd met were actually mates of yours, and this is how you all came to be, then yeah, I thought, oh, well, I'll meet him at some point.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the winter was coming, wasn't it, at that point? And I myself, it was my first full winter fishing on the lake, but no one really knew that we were both fishing together a lot of the time during that period,
well, it was COVID, lockdown, days only. I mean, we were grateful to get the days back, really. It was annoying we couldn't do nights. I know a lot of people pushed their luck a little bit. I mean, we pushed it to the edge quite a few nights, probably a little bit past the curfew, but and yeah, we did. We fished it hard through the winter, days only, and it was like ice skating uphill.
Very difficult.
It was awful. I mean, I knew it was going to be hard, and from previous years and speaking to other people, it just shuts off between those months. Like, it's always harder in the winter, isn't it? Like, it's not comfortable fishing a lot of the time, and when you're doing days, you're travelling light, you think, oh, I don't need this, I don't need my luxuries that keep me warm, and well, you can't drink many beers that keep you warm because you've got to drive home. So it's
yeah, it was tough.
It was tough.
Not just for us, like there was a lot of other anglers that done the same thing to what we did on the lake at the time. It wasn't as busy, I'd say, but there were still people.
There was the odd one, yeah. I mean, you're competing with the pike anglers at that time of year as well. They're roaming swim to swim. I mean, there were a few times when I joined them, just wanted to bend in the rod. And then there was a couple of times we would go to other waters just that were a bit easier. Look for shallow waters, high stock, just to go and get bend in the rod. But yeah, the chases, it was head banging to say the least.
Okay, so moving on from the winter then, thank God.
Thank God, I'm nearly there again.
Your luck sort of changed, didn't it, in like early springtime, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, it was April, I seem to remember, and we did a night. No, I didn't do a night, sorry. It was actually Leon and yourself that did a night in the Cherries, the Cherries 1 and 2. Yeah. And the following morning I was coming down, and Leon was leaving and Snedden was moving in there, and you were going home. And that morning, Leon called me because he knew I was due to be there within the next hour or two. And he said, bro, I've seen 50 plus shows out in front of me, which for the chase is pretty so like, you want to be there. Yeah. I couldn't have got in my car any quicker, I don't think. And I got down there, and they were all just straight out in front of him, opposite Double Winters. And I was going to go in behind you in Cherries 1, and for some reason I just didn't unload the barrow straight away. I didn't think, oh, I'm just going to jump in get my rods out, because I think you had to leave quite early. And sure enough, they were just showing and showing and showing straight out in the middle of the lake in front of Leon. So I waited and waited. Cherries 1 and 2, they're two completely separate swims, really. You're either on them or off them. If they're in one, they're not on the other, and vice versa. So I thought, okay, I'll just sit and wait a little bit and see. I wasn't actually sure what to do. And then the guys in double winters opposite Leon just packed up real quick and were just gone. And I thought, that's where I'm going. That is, because I was straight on the fish, straight to the middle, and that's exactly where they were, bang in that middle bar. And a guy that we all know was cycling past and stopped to say hello, and he said he's just going for a ride around the lake, and I said, oh, if I give you a bucket, can you put it over there? And so he went and he put it over there. And then, yeah, I just packed whatever I'd unpacked and shifted around there. And then that first morning, after just getting the rods out, I had one and lost one. And that was kind of the start of the year for me. And it's such a good feeling to get your first fish on the bank of the year. I mean, especially after the graft through the winter, and we were almost ready to hang our rods up for good and give it up. Go back to learning how to tie a hair rig. But yeah, so I had one, lost one. I thought, this is brilliant. So, this is awesome. I could go home now and I'd be happy. But I had one more night, and then the next day I had one and lost it, and then real quickly afterwards, probably about an hour, 45 minutes afterwards, I had another one and landed it. And because I'd adjusted my tactics slightly the previous year, because I hadn't really spoken to that many people the previous year, way before I met you guys, when I first started fishing the chase. And I had adjusted my tactics a bit, and I realised how I lost those two fish. And then I slightly changed that, and then the next session, a couple of weeks later, was, I think I had a blank in between then, as you do on the chase. I mean, it's no plain sailing. For every 3 nights you do, or every fish you have, you know you've got a few nights of no fish.
It's just normal. I don't think it's just the chase. I think it's just...
It's fishing in general, yeah, of course it is.
A lot of lakes that have some special ones in it tend to be like that, do you know what I mean? And it's
but we know it's low stock, it's hard to move around, it's, you know, it is what it is. It's day ticket fishing for you on a park lake in Dagenham. If you can have a few fish, you're doing well.
That's it, yeah. And then I guess the session that you're referencing a few weeks after was the one that we then did again together, right? Which was like April time. Well, no, it was May, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was May.
That was probably my bumper session of the year, my red letter session of the year, really. 4 fish over 3 nights. I know it's not amazing, but it was the fish that I had that made it special. I mean, conditions were perfect, and quite often at the chase, when conditions are perfect, nothing happens.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
And when conditions are awful, high pressure, no wind, blazing sunshine, you have big fish.
And that's the thing, like the lake does its own thing.
It certainly does,
Pretty
yeah.
much all the time. But yeah, going back to that session, I actually filmed that one. I remember filming that one because that was the one where I jumped in the bins and referenced you being in the bumps. And the weather, that short period, that storm was what triggered your bites.
It certainly was. I mean, we knew the low pressure was coming in. The wind was just southerly, just trickling in to the bump swim. And I just saw one show, literally probably a rod length and a half out. So I put a bait on it, as you do. I found that there's a couple of shells as you go out, and I could see it was on the second shelf out. So I thought, okay, I'll just go just onto that, because a bit further was a bit choddy and the dying weed from the dye. Yeah, I put 2 on that spot and then 1 somewhere else, and it was those 2 that went, both rods. And that was on the first night, and that was the big no, that was the 20 pound, the common, and the smaller mirror. And then the next day, the weather completely changed. It actually turned on its head, went opposite, and I saw no fish. It was a dead zone. So I was checking the weather like every hour, you know, as you do. So it'll change in a minute. Weatherman's always wrong. And I woke up the next morning, and by about 10 a.m, the wind had just started trickling back this way, back straight into me, southerly. Pressure had gone up a bit, but wasn't anything major. But it was the storm that did it. Like, it started trickling in, the weather wasn't too bad, and then the wind picked up a little bit more, and then it just started to get to dusk. And then I saw one show on the exact same spot that it did, not the previous day, the one before, and I just knew it. And then the heavens opened, and it started raining. I remember texting you saying, I'm putting my waders on now. Sat there in my bivvy, in my waders, just knowing, almost, it was just, because the exact same thing had happened the day before. Yeah. So you know when you think, you're in the same swim, you're on the same spot at the same time, 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen. But I put my waders on anyway.
You know when everything aligns, man, and it just feels right, so I know why you're doing that.
And then what actually happened was the right rod went, which wasn't on this close spot where I'd seen him showing, it was actually on the bar to the right off the rushes, and it just bent round, so straight out in the water, playing it in, and I saw it was that 25-pound scaly. And I thought, fuck, man. I thought, oh God, I've been waiting for that fish for a while. And as I was playing it, and it banked past me, and I saw what it was, I thought, oh, this is awesome. And then it just started fighting me like a maniac. And it was really difficult to get it in, but because I was in the water and because the rushes were a bit overgrown, and I managed to get it in. And as I netted it, there were these 3 kids that just walked into my swim and were saying, "Oh mate, you got one." I was like, yeah. What do you think I'm doing with a net and a rod in my hand, and in the water? And so I netted this fish, and obviously, you know, it's quite tight. It was tight in the bumps when you had all the rushes up, and I was trying to get the fish. I got the fish in the net, and then I was trying to get out. And in order to get out, you have to step like right up onto that sort of crate, and there's
it's like a little ledge, isn't it?
There's loads of wire sticking out and all sorts. So I asked this kiddie to hold my rod while I got out of the water, and I left the fish just resting in the net. And as I stepped over my other 2 rods to get out of the water, the rod that was 2 rod lengths out, bear in mind I've been in the water playing the fish, splashing around, a rod length from where this bait is. I've stepped over the rod, and it's just ripped off behind, like through my legs. It's just screaming. And these 3 kiddies behind me, who I'm looking at the minute, trying to get out of the water, are going, "You got it, rod's going." So I had to spin around, pick it up, and I'm into another fish. And then I asked, because I only had 1 net then, I asked the kiddie to run round to you and asked him for your net, which you then said to him, "No, I'll take the net, you stay here."
No, what it was, I actually moved to the point for the last night. I remember it clear as day. And I think I was looking in my tackle box or something. You had the first one, and you was trying to wave to me, weren't you?
I was.
To say you'd had one.
I was there like this.
And then I just happened to look up, and I see you into the second one. I was like, oh shit, he's actually in. And then when you sent that young fella around, we must say thanks to him really, because he actually looked after my stuff for about 30 minutes whilst I ran around and done some shots for you, so thanks to you. And that particular guy actually is the son of a fella that actually fishes there quite regularly.
Oh, really?
And I've met him since that experience as well. He's a proper nice young lad, to be fair.
Oh, good.
To his fishing, so yeah, thanks to that.
Yeah, thank you.
But, yeah, I run back round, done the shots with you, didn't I? And yeah, it was just a mega spell, really.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
In that swim.
I was just over the moon, wet or not. I was happy.
That was the. Am I right in saying that was the dinosaur? The second one was the dinosaur one.
Yeah, that was a recapture for me. Yeah.
Recapture.
That was the first fish I had out of the chase the previous year.
Right.
My first ever fish out of the chase, and it was that Rex, I called him.
I'm going to correct your memory, because you actually missed the best of the crop, in my opinion, which was that era just before it got dark on the first night, which went 37.6, didn't it?
Yeah, no, just 37, I think.
37.
It was.
What a fish, mate. That was a banging fish.
It was a unit. It was a unit. I think the reason I forget it because I was a bit flustered. You wanted to take some pics. The light was dropping fast, and the rain was. It just started, didn't it? As soon as I netted it, it just started raining, and you were struggling with your camera and everything. It was a bit of a palaver.
The rain was ridiculous.
It was bad.
I just couldn't risk having my camera.
No, of course not.
It definitely would have got destroyed in that torrential storm. But wrapping that particular session up, I myself didn't have anything, but to see you nick those fish was unreal based on the previous months.
It would have been really good for you to have one, just because obviously you've been putting the same amount of effort as I have in, especially over the winter. It is what it's like. It is, but it's like you like to see others catch, especially your mates. Like, especially when you're fishing together, even if you're in opposite swims, it makes no odds. It's good. It just makes it more of a communal effort, if you know what I mean. It's never just one person.
The next sort of landmark session for you was when we went on that social during July, wasn't it? I took a few days off work and we done a little social over in Kent at a lake that I'd fished quite a couple of times in the past, Stour Valley.
Stour Valley.
It was your first time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd never heard of it before. And when we got there, I thought, oh, this is a nice looking lake. We did a draw. We didn't have lake exclusive because we just booked. It was pre-booked, wasn't it?
It was pre-booked, but we didn't book the whole lake. You can do that, but we didn't do that on that.
And you can't pre-book swims, so we did a draw for first pick of the free swims, and I pulled last in the draw. Just my luck. So pulling last in the draw, I ended up in no swim corner. No swim corner, no fish corner. And obviously there were no fish for me that first night. So I didn't even put the bivvy up. I slept in my car.
Yeah, I remember that.
Probably had a few too many shandies and woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a bus. And then had to move, but luckily there were a few openings.
Before we go on, you should probably reference Ben and Darren's incredible barbecue, because I heard that they'd done you a
Oh, the barbecue was incredible. We actually backed my car up to his van, opened both of the boots, and then had two umbrellas in between as like a canopy. And then we got the Ridge Monkey Griller barbecue out, and wow, Dow cooked up a feast. Like, man loves his meat.
So your first night on the lake weren't the worst.
Oh, it certainly weren't the worst. I'd already scrapped it off for the fishing. I was just happy to have a social, and it was the first time I met these guys, and brilliant guys. Like, I couldn't have asked for better people to be fishing with, really. Unfortunately, none of the three of us had any fish that night. I knew I had to move. I was effectively in a sort of shared double, but I had this tiny little bay known as No Fish Corner, and there were no fish there. So I just concentrated on having a social with them, getting to know them. And it was brilliant. I knew we had a few nights left, and I'm going to have the potential to move tomorrow, the following day, which I did, and that was the first night. And then a big swim opened up, which I didn't know was going to open up that day, about midday. Big double on the middle of the lake on the opposite side. And I'd heard that it had done a 30 or 2 30s like 2 or 3 nights before we got there. And it was right next to Snedden, and you were up on the same bank, but a bit further up the other end. So I thought, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna toss a coin, and it ended up being straight across the lake to this new swim that had just opened up. I hadn't really seen fish there. I just gone on the fact that, you know, I've got more water.
Yeah, it's a very open swim, that one.
It's an open swim. I just wanted to fill it in, basically. I know the Stamper fish they're pretty big. There's quite a lot of little ones in there as well, but there's a big head of fish.
Yeah,
so I knew
it's got a nice stock, that lake, and I should probably reference this now because I get quite a few messages on Instagram asking me about Loggie's Lake and sort of like what tactics to go for and that, just because I've fished there a few times myself. And for people that haven't been there before, you should note that there is a massive road that runs under the power lines, isn't there? And from the particular swim that he was in, you had excellent access to that road from that swim. So
direct
it was
access.
a no-brainer really to fit it in and just sit on the spot.
It was the time of year, you know, that was my best option. I was thinking, you know, I've had a hard first night. I'm going to go in here. I got 2 people's water, effectively. It's a double swim. I'll just pick a spot out on this road, gravel road that I had been told about, and it was easy to find. One chuck, I was there. I was on the middle of it, and so I just brought it back to the edge, about 18 wraps, and just must have probably over the course of the next 12 hours probably put 50 spoms out, and then I just fished tight, 3 rods on that. First night I didn't have anything, and I thought, you know, I'm heading for a blank here. And I thought, yeah, it's first time on the lake. The boys down the pads then were catching. Snedden actually next to me had a couple a bit closer in, and I was thinking, what's going on? Loads of fish, loads of bait, what's happening? And then I stuck to my guns, put more bait out, and then the following afternoon they just started showing on the spot, like right on the spot, because I was fishing probably 3 rods on something about the size of this table, I would imagine. And after they started showing, I was thinking, yeah, I've got to have a bite soon. And probably about 3 hours later, it ripped off. I had a small, wasn't it? It was about 7 pound. Stunning little fish. I think it was a little zip linear. Can't quite remember.
It was a really pretty mirror.
It was a pretty mirror, wasn't it? Immaculate.
I took a picture of it. It was that nice.
And then I had another fish quite quickly after. It was 13 pounds, I think. Common, maybe. Yeah, long common, 13 pound. Just another pasty, really. And I thought, okay, the fish are there. I was happy I was actually having a couple. And then a few hours later on that night, it went again. I thought, okay, we're gonna have to keep getting through them now tonight. It's gonna be a long night. And I got it in the net, and I thought, oh, that's a better fish.
Well,
that's a better fish.
Before you carry on, that fish actually took you everywhere.
Oh, yeah, it did. And with the scrappy fights I had, bit like the 13 pounder and stuff, they do tend to go all over the place a bit more, but I didn't think it was huge. I certainly didn't think it was a 30. It gave me a bit more of a scrap than I would have expected. And yeah, it turned out to be one of the originals in the lake at, what was it, 38.8, I think it went.
Yeah, I think that's right, mate. I think those numbers are correct. But what a fish, man!
Oh,
that was like
for the first
ancient, weren't it? That fish?
Oh, it was definitely a proper original. It was a lovely fish. Even the bailiff on our last day when he went past, he had heard that I'd had it, and it was on his list of fish to have. But he said well done and stuff, which is fair play to him. I was just chuffed to bits that I'd had a decent fish on my first session at Stour Valley, and we'll definitely go back at some point for another social, I'm sure.
Yeah, Ben, just hang over my shoulder a little bit, get a little bit closer to him.
Just get a shadow you, though. You know what I mean? Shadow like that.
Like bring it like here. You're not going to shadow me because the light's on him. It's cool. Yeah, sweet, bro. Yeah, that's it. Nice one, man. Yeah, we're rolling, man. How you feeling?
Well, first real fish from Stour Valley. Not a bad fish, to be honest. Is it 38.8?
Easy stuff. Tail up, Ad. Just tail up a little bit. And then lower it completely, a little bit lower so I can see your face a bit. Yeah, there we go.
Banging fish. Old floppy belly unit.
Thank you, lad.
Like Snedden. Like him. Sweet.
So yeah, brilliant session. It was great to meet all the boys and be invited. Like, thanks for inviting me on it. I wasn't expecting it.
Man, no, it was cracking little session. And to be fair, I've got to admit, it probably won't be the last time that we go to that lake, because it is really good for socials, man. Like,
It is.
Obviously, there are rules around being close to your rods and that, but it's quite easy to reel in there. You can drive to your swims, which is a mega bonus, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah, being able to drive around, moving makes life easier, and just, you know, reading in and popping round to have a cup of tea with your mates or dinner, or, you know, just what social's all about, really.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, maybe again next year we'll go.
Certainly, I'm game.
Wicked. All right, so with all of that said, just reference your time back at the Chase then, because it has been a couple of months after that, hasn't there, where you've been back?
Yeah, I've had a few fish out yet, none of the big girls. That's what I was kind of hoping for before the end of the year. Touch wood, it happens, but you know, it's not that easy. And you know, it doesn't happen like that, so it could be another few years before I have one of the big ones. But I've had a fair few this year now, so I'm quite happy with how it went. A little bit better than last year, which is always what I'm aiming for. This winter, I think now, because of going back to work and gonna make it a bit more difficult, you've got to compete with weekend anglers and stuff, but in the winter it generally dies down. But I don't think I'm gonna be putting as much effort into the front lake this winter as I did last. Purely because of, you know, time is more precious now.
Yeah.
As much as I love fishing, like, I have other things to do. But by all means, I'll still be fishing, just albeit slightly less. And it's only a couple of months before spring's back around the corner.